There are moments in history where we can say, this changes everything. An example of this kind of change comes from Genesis chapter 22 with the story of Abraham and Isaac, where preparation, passion, and provision led them to this kind of change that I'm talking about. First, we find preparation in Genesis chapter 22, verse 2, where God asked Abraham to take his son, his one and only son Isaac that he loved so much, on top of a mountain and sacrifice him. Abraham may not have understood why God was requesting this, but God was simply preparing Abraham for something huge to come. Right. Secondly, we find passion in Genesis chapter 22, verse 3. When Abraham and Isaac began to walk up the mountainside to the place where Isaac will be sacrificed. The word passion can also carry the meaning to suffer. And I believe every step Abraham took was full of pain. It was full of suffering. Because you see, he understood it was a step closer to sacrificing Isaac. Thirdly, we find provision. When in verse 9 of chapter 22, Abraham was about to sacrifice Isaac. In that moment, God provides the ram, which is the sacrifice. And in this moment, God became Abraham's provision. But in verse 18, an angel of the Lord comes and speaks to Abraham and says, Abraham, because of your act of obedience, generations to come will be blessed. Amen. So hundreds of years later, people can look back and say, because of what you did, Abraham, this changed everything. Amen. But you see, today, I don't want to talk about change that just lasted a few hundred years or a few generations. But today I want to preach Jesus and a change that will last all of history. Jesus Christ spent 33 years of preparation on this earth. And in every moment, God was simply preparing Jesus for something huge to come. You today may not understand why or how, but be faithful because God is preparing you for something huge to come. Amen. Jesus Christ picked up the cross and carried it up a hill called Calvary because he had a passion for you and I. He was willing to take the pain and suffer. You in this room today need to grab a hold of that passion that Jesus had that says, though he slay me, I will put my hope in him. Jesus Christ, hanging from that cross, breathed his last. And in that moment when Jesus died, the veil was ripped from top to bottom, and everything any of you would ever need in life was provided in that moment. Provision. Yeah. But the story doesn't end there, friend. Because 3 days later, death just couldn't hold him down. Jesus rose from the dead and walked out of that grave. And that, my friend, that changed everything. You may say today, Curtis, what did it truly change from my life and my family? You see, it changed a lot. On March 19th of this year, we rushed my father to the emergency room. He was having respiratory failure, and he was half dead, laying on a hospital bed when we got in there. They took everything and all these cords, and they're trying to bring him back to life. They admitted him into the intensive care unit. For 11 days, he was on a ventilator, and I would squeeze his hand, just praying for a response. We had a prayer cloth on him and worship music playing around the clock. Every single day, I would go into his room and open up this Bible on his chest and preach to my dad Isaiah 53:5. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. And with his stripes, we are healed. And friend, my dad is alive and well. Praise Jesus today. So friend, in the midst of your situation, no matter the torture or pain, because of what Jesus did on that cross, this changes everything.